Yes, indeed. You know what that sound means. It's time to cross into the final frontier. Now, something quite interesting happened. And right across our border, as we move into the final frontier, I think a couple of nervous people out there on the 2nd of June, we saw some footage emerging of a meteorite actually crashing down over Botswana. And while thankfully nobody got hit on the head, the footage was captured on CCTV. So this morning, we're going to unpack this event with astrophysicist Dr. Imogen Whittam. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the garb this morning? Looking absolutely gorgeous to talk about something that terrifies us. You know, I know that hundreds of thousands of small meteorites are crashing down to the Earth all the time, but the fact that we were able to capture this event, can we actually play this video just so we can see this? And I know it's not the best footage ever because it was captured on a CCTV. But
there it goes.
Look at that. That is quite spectacular. You wish that a camera crew could have been there to capture that. So explain to us, first of all, what is actually going on there?
So in this case, a piece of rock somewhere between 2 and 5 meters across crashed into the Earth's atmosphere, traveling at over 40,000 kilometers an hour. And so when it plowed into the atmosphere, a huge amount of heat was generated, heating up the rock to over 1,500 degrees. Which is hot enough to vaporize its surface, causing it to glow extremely brightly, causing this bright fireball that we saw.
Did any of it make it down to the planet?
Not that's been found yet, but there probably will be some small fragments.
And because we know these rocks are obviously comprising of different elements, will some things get burnt away? Will you find like a core of a particular metal? Or how do we normally find meteorites once they crash down to Earth?
So when there's a meteor thing like this, then obviously people go and look on the ground. But often, actually, these things aren't observed because either they happen during the day where we don't notice, or they happen over an unpopulated area. Remember, 2/3 of the Earth is actually sea. So we don't notice at the time, and maybe much later, someone will find a piece of rock and we'll be able to tell from its composition that it's not from Earth, and then we know that must be a meteorite.
And some of them are quite valuable. If you see what some of them get auctioned off for. Okay, that's just thunder outside. Okay, that's not a meteor. How are we able to predict these sorts of events when they're that small? At what size do we start tracking? Do we even have a tracking system for meteorites?
So we do have a tracking system. NASA, yes. NASA and other space agencies are constantly monitoring space for any object that might be on a collision course with Earth. In fact, this object was detected about 9 hours before it entered the Earth's atmosphere, and that's the 3rd object that we've managed to identify and then seen as a fireball.
Seen actually land. At what size do we need to start being alarmed?
Yeah, okay, so this object was 2 to 5 meters across, and it did no significant damage at all. And that's because the Earth's atmosphere does a really good job of protecting us from these sorts of things.
Good job,
exactly.
Man.
Thank you, atmosphere. But if we take something, say, the size of a house, then that is going to do significant damage. It's going to, something the size of a house will release 20 kilotons of energy when it hits the Earth. So that's the same amount of energy that was released by the Hiroshima bomb.
Wow.
So that's going to flatten all structures within a kilometer of the central impact site, will do significant damage over tens of kilometers. So that could be devastating, particularly if it occurred over, say, a city.
Oh, man, I don't want to say be nervous because it's an infinite space out there, and luckily the chances of these things being that size hitting us, we should see it coming. Doc, thank you so much for terrifying me. No, that was absolutely awesome.
Don't be terrified.
The fact that we've been able to actually see one of these events happening live, as spectacular as that was, is just really, really, really cool.